Hello, it is Friday, June 5th. Finally, our very first hot day in Texas. Oh, I tell you it's hot because my AC had gone out, both units, upstairs and downstairs. And I got my upstairs fixed, but the downstairs, unfortunately, or the upstairs one just need a little. It's an old system that requires every now and then, this is how old the system is, requires Freon. I wanted to switch it out, but I can't because then I have to rewire the entire apartment complex, not apartment complex, the entire unit, which would be multiple of thousands of dollars because, needless to say, this is an older condo. So when it got replaced a few years ago, it was replaced with one that Freon's, but it needs servicing every now and then, and every now and then needs to add a little bit more Freon. Sorry, I'm not more energy efficient in this place, but I don't have the money to become more energy efficient because it costs an arm and a leg because it's not just the unit outside, which would be in the thousands. It would be also rewiring and upping the amperage of this unit. But my other unit, the downstairs unit, went kaput. It was the original unit when this place was built in 1980, so I guess it's had 40 years of use. So it was well built, but needless to say, I don't have AC downstairs. But the unusual configuration of this condo is the upstairs unit, how the vents blow, cools upstairs really quickly, really fast, and then I have a very large or very open stairwell near where some of those vents blow. So actually, it blows the AC downstairs. So I've discovered after being here for 30 years, almost 30 years, the upstairs actually helps cool downstairs quite a bit. Who knew? I didn't know this till, of course, the unit goes out downstairs. The only problem is the air I'm in is comfortable and cool with the upstairs, but where my office / dining room is, it's just far enough away where no cool air gets there. Cheap solution, a fan. It takes the air from where I'm at and blows it over there. And with one unit, I'm able to keep this tiny little condo cool all the way. So yay that this inexpensive solution happened. So, winter will be another issue. But in the meantime, for this, we hit in the mid-90s today here in Texas. So that's my update, because I think I mentioned that before that I had issues with my AC unit. But that's the update on it. Okay, so what's going on with COVID-19? Today, we broke another record, too shy of 300 new cases today. We're still okay with the hospitalizations, but the numbers are basically triple what it was 5 weeks ago, which is not good, because eventually these cases, these are new diagnosed cases. Give it a few more days, they'll end up in the hospital, quite a few of them, and the problem's going to start all over again. It's a little bit scary that it's just been going up and up and up and up, and now we're basically triple where we were 5 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was basically Memorial Day when everything opened back up here in Texas quite a bit. It had opened up a little bit, but then it really opened a lot more. So we're seeing the effects of that now. And of course, we've announced that we've opened up to 75% capacity now. So I don't know what the solution is, because, people do need to work. But at the same time, I've always said I think we did this too quickly, because we were getting such a handle on it. And the numbers were going down when all of a sudden the governor overruled what we were doing in Dallas County. And now we're exploding with cases. And we now lead, I think I mentioned the other day, we now lead the state in number of deaths in this county. And that's just Dallas County. The numbers in all the surrounding counties, which make up the whole metroplex here, Dallas-Fort Worth, not good, not good. So the virus is definitely spreading. What else is spreading is stupidity. Honestly, lots of stupidity. So there was an incident in Buffalo, New York, which a 75-year-old protester, a long-term activist, was basically walking down the street protesting, when the Special Forces Police, which was their police department in their riot gear, 57 officers, I think it was total, 2 of them shoved the man to the ground. The man wasn't doing anything except, standing there protesting. He was injured, ended up in the hospital. You can see the thing on every social media because it's been rebroadcast. It was so completely unnecessary that they shoved him. He was not threatening. He was just trying to... It actually looked like he was leaving, but these officers shoved him to the ground and then just walked past him. One sort of tried to bend down to scoop, and he was quickly grabbed by another one, and you can tell almost by the body language, don't touch him, leave him there. Of course, it was all captured by a news camera. Well, the two officers that shoved him got basically suspended without pay. But guess what happened? The 57 other officers that were there all resigned in protest. Not in protest over the fact that the man ended up on the ground, but that the two officers were suspended without pay until further investigation. They are backing up the people that put someone in serious medical condition. What were they thinking? The police is trying to show a better side. They're wanting to show that that there's not many bad apples. It's a few bad apples that have ruined the whole thing, and that most police officers are good, and many of them are. But when you have 57 people back up two people that have used excessive violence and resign and protest, there's still going to be police officers, but they resigned that position that they were in. It really shows you this bizarre culture in some police departments of backing the blue, even if the blue is doing wrong. What the hell were they thinking? Because they just confirmed what these protests are about. And the police are brutal. They won't take responsibility. And they'll do everything to protect their own, even if it's criminal behavior. They just showed the world, because this has been now broadcast around the globe, that yes, this is how corrupt the police departments are. How out of control they are. And why this whole Black Lives Matter movement is well beyond just Black Lives now. I mean, Black Lives Matter, we need to keep getting that message across. But the Black Lives Matter has really now helped highlight this corruption in the police department. What were the 57 other people thinking? Nobody helped this man up. They left him bleeding on the ground. And their reaction is, oh, well, we're quitting our job because we were criticized for not aiding someone we injured purposefully. This is the same mentality with the Trump administration, President Trump, with all these enablers. They're not stopping to think about what it looks like from the outside. Another issue. This whole thing about theaters and all of this, not being sensitive enough to Black Lives Matter, even though I've been preaching this now for quite a few days. They have a valid point, people that are criticizing a lot of theaters, but there's a Facebook group that was created by a critic from the Dallas Morning News when she left. And it's a marvelous group because it basically is information about theater and what's going on. And it's a way of promoting shows, a way to bring the community together. But people started putting posts about why theaters weren't supporting the Black Lives Movement. I understand that this is a community forum to share information about the news and the business. That's what the intention was. The fact that they were calling out theaters on that forum, I can make an argument both ways. I didn't have a problem with some of the calling out because theaters do need to be called out if they're not supporting Black Lives Matter. I agree with that. I think it's more productive if you call them out on their individual pages, but it was being done in the forum. Okay. So suddenly the person who created the page, who has been so proactive, is being questioned as to her supporting Black Lives Matter. After this woman has written these children's books about inclusion of races. Basically, she has spoken out on this subject in print, and not just one book, but multiple books. She has been so supportive of, like with my theater, with some of the productions promoting Black playwrights. She has been such an inclusive person. And suddenly she's being questioned as to her loyalties to the cause. Because people are wanting sometimes to make a point, but they'll paint a white swath accusing people of insensitivity without really paying attention to what that person has been doing, not just recently, but for a long period of time. Then you have a very prominent black actress in Dallas. She's phenomenal talent. I would kill to work with her. She's one of the most talented people, incredible singer. Basically commiserate with the moderator of the page, say, boy, I feel for you, because it's what you're going through is quite a bit of turmoil. She gets attacked. Now, I understand the anger there is in this country, but it was very interesting that a black person is attacking another black person because they didn't feel like the one black person is speaking out the way they think they should be speaking out. This actress has been so vocal about Black Lives Matter. Such a supporter. Long before, she was supportive. She chose projects and plays that brought to the forefront the issues of race before Black Lives Matter even existed. So this is somebody in the community that has been speaking out forcefully, but with much grace. She's never done it in an angry way. She does it in a very loving way, gives everybody the benefit of the doubt, and then tries to educate them. And then if they don't learn, then she makes the conclusions, which is the way everybody should operate. But she's being criticized because she's not screaming about it, basically. It's okay to scream about it. That person is valid in wanting people to yell out. But at the same time, reading what this person wrote towards this black actress, it's like, I don't think he really knows her background and what she's been doing for decades, not just a few years, but for decades. And it just rankled me because while this other person is making a valid point that people should be screaming out, there's no doubt, I totally believe in that. There's different ways of presenting the subject. One path only won't get this issue solved. You need multiple paths. I make the equivalent to the AIDS crisis in the 80s. We had different groups at the time, but the one that was very vocal and angry was ACT UP, and I supported them thoroughly. I didn't participate with them. I was working with AIDS Project Los Angeles and some other AIDS organizations, supporting them as a member of them. I never participated in ACT UP. I valued what they did because somebody needed to make people uncomfortable so they would react and deal with the AIDS crisis. But while they were doing their way of getting the message across, we were working in a different angle, dealing with government, dealing with politicians, dealing with celebrities so that they could come to our cause and start being vocal and supporting us in the more gentler way. Both routes worked because ACT UP made people feel uncomfortable, and they got to the point where people were like, we just need to do what they want us to do because we don't want another demonstration. But with us working more behind the scenes, we were like encouraging people to go ahead and speak out and take a stand for not only HIV, but also gay rights. And we got a lot of people to join us too. So both methods were wanting to achieve the same results. One wasn't better than the other. We kind of needed both. But I never would have thought about accusing ACT UP for doing it the wrong way. And it would be absurd. ACT UP would be criticizing us for doing it the way we were doing it behind the scenes. Both methods can work. But to outsiders, sometimes when you have these two viewpoints, they're like, oh, they can't get their act together. And what I think this one person doesn't understand is that when you accuse somebody of not speaking out properly and making a big fit about the person not speaking out the way they want to speak out, it makes a good excuse for the white racists out there to go, see, they can't even agree, so why should we pay attention to them? This is something people need to be aware of. There's no right way or wrong way as long as you're really aiming to reach the goal of not just equality, but equity. You can use different methods to get there. Now, if you're not being truthful, well, that's another story. But, I found it so disappointing because I know as this argument ensued, unfortunately, the one actress, she just said, you do you, I'm going to do me, and I'm leaving it at that. Trying to shut down the conversation because it really was going nowhere. And all I could think as I was reading the few back and forths was, inadvertently you're feeding into what white racist supremacist people want to stereotype about the Black community, that you can't get your act together. And it really wasn't that they can't get their act together. It was just two very opposing viewpoints. But it just infuriated me because the person needed to go, when she brought up you do you and I'll do me in the way we approach the subject, it should have been left at that. But unfortunately, this person still went on the diatribe. Kind of like the woman that was calling out businesses for not saying Black Lives Matter, but her own business didn't even have a post about it. So this stupidity, people need to before you hit send, before you post, reread it. Think about it, not from your viewpoint. Think about it from the viewpoint as an outsider looking at it and how it might be interpreted. I mentioned in a video a few days ago that was my second recording of it. I never posted the first one because I was trying to make a point and I realized the way I had worded it was not artful. Not that I'm the most artistic person expressing myself, but I realized in that video that the point I was trying to make, it came out a little bit muddled. And all I could think of when I reviewed the video before I posted it was, ooh, people might misinterpret this because I'm trying to say one thing, but it wasn't very clear. And the impression, I don't want somebody to then accuse me of something that I'm not. Go ahead and accuse me of the stuff I'm saying, but don't accuse me of something that I'm not. And because the way I had phrased and worded what I was trying to say was not succinct and clear, I could see people looking at that and go, "Ah, look at him. Why is he talking?" So I re-recorded the video because I realized that came out not sounding quite right. If people who know me would understand what I was saying, but I realized any person who's watched this video randomly would go, and not give a good impression. So I re-recorded it. And that's what people need to do before you hit post. You need to reread it, not from your viewpoint, but from the viewpoint of how's the other person going to receive it? How is it, because social media, anybody can read a lot of stuff. How is a stranger going to perceive that? So just be a little bit more careful before you sling out terms of intolerance to people. And also, before you accuse someone of intolerance, maybe look at that person's record. It's easy to do on social media or Google it. I had someone tell me that I would never be able to understand the experience of a Mexican coming to this country. This is many years ago. That I just would be unable to understand the difficulties of, coming to America from Mexico. And before I didn't see that post, and before I got to read the post, by that point, there was like 25 people who had responded who knew me, clocking this person, saying, obviously you don't know the hell who Mark Brian Sona is. And, I know he looks one way, But you haven't watched meat with tortillas. That was a comment somebody made. It's like you can eat a whole meal with tortillas and not use silverware. That's how Mexican he is. So, but yeah, I'm making light of the situation. But it is an ugly side that I'm seeing crop up more and more and more because people are getting more extreme and more heated, and it's understandable why people are extreme and heated on it because people do. This is horrible. I mean, look what happened with those officers. Their reaction was just stupid. So, but again, they should have sat back and thought, there's the kids that are doing and posting, photos of them recreating George Floyd's and the police officer's pose when how George Floyd died, and you get these white kids doing it, and these are teenagers or college kids doing it. Well, it's never going to go away because it's on social media, and people are calling them out. They're tracing where they are, where they work, where they go to school, and all of a sudden you're going to get these kids kicked out. And good luck getting a job because if you Google that name, that's going to come up. And what employer would want to be associated with someone who did something like that? So people, again, are doing these things, not thinking about it, and then post it. They just take a breath. Or if you need, take a day before you post it. These things that seem like a good idea at the time aren't always. And of course, it just shows the racism. Why would you want to recreate that? There's another image of these girls who painted swastikas on their shoulder. And of course, they've been called out. And there was actually somebody that was defending them because they were explaining how, well, the swastikas weren't exactly right because the cross was a bit reversed, which probably means that the girls were just stupid. They didn't know how to draw it properly. But she said, because that swastika symbol actually means eternal life. And, which originally meant for two millennia. But, there was something that happened in the mid-20th century, the Nazi Party, that took that symbol and just co-opted it. And now nobody can look at a swastika without thinking of the Nazi Party and the extermination of 6 million Jews. Yes, it had a completely different meaning for 2 millennia prior to that event, but they co-opted it. It has a whole new meaning. So, you've got to get with the program. Have a good evening. Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell to get notified of my daily musings while living with the coronavirus and under curfew. I never heard whether we have curfew tonight or not. We did as of last night, but I usually been getting alerts. I didn't get one today, so maybe there's no curfew anymore. I don't know. But have a good evening. And if you watch this in the morning or in the afternoon, good morning or good afternoon. And be safe and keep wearing your mask. We need these numbers to come down. This whole COVID thing all of a sudden just exploding in Dallas County is making me very unthrilled. Have a good one. Bye.